OMG, OMG. I can't believe it. This is just next day. We're about 15 hours since I first did that initial first coat. And what a gloss on there. Can you see that? What a gloss. What a gloss. So impressed. If you want to know a bit more and you want to see what it's like with 2 coats, please keep with the video and watch till the end. OMG, can't believe it. Really can't believe it. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Again, I'm going to say what I normally say. You've seen the thumbnail, you've read the title, you can clearly see. We're going to be trying the Jonos Aqua Guard durable gloss finish. Now, this is supposed to be their new paint that's out. It's been out a while, but new to me. If you look in that corner there, I tried the Jonos water-based gloss a while back, early on in my channel days, and I called it the brush killer. It was a really good gloss, but the downside was you actually struggled cleaning your brush out. You'd use cold water, warm your water up with a bit of soapy water, clean your brush out, and it would literally kill your brush. You needed white spirit, methylated spirit, then finish off with a bucket of warm water and some washing up liquid in it to try and bring your brush back to life. But this is the new one. I've not tried it yet, and I'm going to give my honest opinion. I've got Doris the door. Now, Doris the door's been nibbed down, dusted off, all the usual. Do that off camera. I'm going to be coating this up straight over the previous satin finish that's been on there before. This as a paint requires 2 coats. It doesn't need a primer. It doesn't need a undercoat if you are going over a sound, clean, dry, i.e. no problems surface. If it was a new surface, if there was areas that were bare, patchy, they do a primer undercoat for it. Always read the back of the can telling you what primers to use. Don't try and use somebody else's primer stroke undercoat and then go over the top with something. I always say go hand in glove. Yes, there are instances where you can get away with a different brand of primer because it's a problem surface. But when you're coming to actually doing finishes, it's always better to use the correct undercoat stroke primer, because they sometimes call it undercoat primers. It's always best to use the correct hand in glove undercoat for the top coat. And if it says 2 top coats, give it 2 top coats. There's a reason. There's a reason for it. I'm not going to go into that now because I want to keep this a short video. But no, this is going over a door that's previously been painted, so we shouldn't have any problems. 2 coats. I'm going to get 1 coat on today, and I'm going to come back tomorrow, giving it long enough to actually dry off, and I'll see what the gloss level's like, see how it's applied, and see what the finish in general is like. Now, for all those that don't know, it is aqua, so it is a paint that you can wash out with water. Touch dry, 2 to 4 hours, and it says 4 to 6 hours for recoat time. It's all on the back of the tin there if in doubt. But I'll also say to you, if you've not picked up one of these little booklets from Jonos or wherever you get your paint from, it gives you all product information about all the products that Jonos do. So if in doubt, you can always refer back to the product guide. So that's there. I'm not reading that because I know what I'm doing with this. But no, what does it say on the front of the tin? Why are we trying it? I want to try out what this water-based gloss is like, clearly. Ultimate durability, resist grease, stains and scratches. Interesting. Water-based, told you that. An outstanding float and finish. Now, if you saw the video, or it might not be out, depends when you're watching, about the satin version of this, I was a little bit about the flow out, particularly after that first coat. So we'll see what this is like. I'm hoping with it being more of a gloss level, there's things in it that help the actual laying off and flowing out. It's mainly where you've got wet edges and you're trying to join up, which we have the issues with. But all in all, I think I've covered everything. It's straightforward. It is a paint that's for interior use. You brush it, you can roll it, you can spray with it. Just on the back, a gloss paint for interior wood and metal. Innovative surface preparation technology provides ultimate defense against scratches, wear and tear and grease finger marks for long-lasting finish. Jonos Trade Aqua Guard Gloss also has enhanced application qualities with outstanding flow, excellent hiding power and long-lasting whiteness. I've not been asked to trial this. I've not been one of those decorators that's been given any of these tins without a wrapper on and saying, what do you think of this? I'm not privy to anything like that. I'm going to be telling you what I think to this paint straight off with an honest opinion, like I do with a lot of these paints that I've got on my shelf on my workstation down here. I want to give you an honest opinion on what I think the paint's like, as if you would bought it off the shelf and trying it for the first time. I want to give you my thoughts as a professional painter and decorator, what this paint's like. So that said, we're going to crack on. To be fair to the Jonos paints, I'm sticking with the Arroworthy brush for this because I did trial the Arroworthy brush with the satin and I thought I will keep with it for the gloss because that is one of the paint brushes that I would use. It's just there. It's one of the paint brushes I would use if I was doing a private job or woodwork and stuff that I needed a nice quality brush. It's just see there. Yeah. Right, let's have a go. I'll give you my first thoughts on a couple of panels, then I'll get the door coated up and I will come back after I've coated it to give you my initial thoughts on that first coat, and then I'll be back tomorrow, coat it up, and then we'll get a bit of a conclusion at the end. So you won't see me coating up it second time round, you'll just be seeing it being done now. Right, panel, start with your panel, then your moulding. What I want to do is put enough on that I'm getting a nice coat with it, but I don't want to put too much on that I'm going to say to you, oh look, it's running on me, because that won't be fair. I just want to do it as I would do it on a job. So just going around, any fatty edges just knock back off. This is a nice 2-inch. I've got no problem coating the door up with one of these. Just going around the mouldings, and as I say, wipe down on one side of the kettle. You can see I'm using one side of the kettle. If you've got any fatty edge just around the edge, just knock it off with the base heel of the brush. That means that will dry off, and when you come back to paint these sides, you shouldn't have any problem with blending in. I'll say that, but with that satin, it showed a little bit, didn't it? Right, I'll just do this second panel. The white seems quite a nice white against the previous white that I got on there. I'm trying to think what the previous paint was. I can't remember, to be honest. It's another paint that I'm going to say to you, get on as quick as you possibly can. Don't play about with it. You don't want to make it go too dry as you're playing with it. You don't want to overwork it. So far, so good. Looks a little bit grinny, but I'll wait till I see what it's like when it's dried off. Right, let me crack on, and I'll see you in, say, 10 minutes. Deal. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Where it says about flow, very impressed with that. I've just coated that up. Now, if you remember back, if you've not seen it yet, please watch it. The satin video on this Aqua Guard, where I'd got joining up, where we say keeping a wet edge going, where I was joining up, it flashed. I explained flash in that video. I'm going to say to you, this has blended in. Let's keep it in layman's simple terms. The blending in between doing a rail, a style, mullion rails, cross rails, top latch rails. These areas here, across there, they blended in lovely, like using a proper oil gloss, that it's still open, it's still wet, it's still active, let's call it active, that you can actually flow into each other. So as you come down a side and you've done that, let's call it cross member there, and you want to blend back into these, it allows you to do it. Same with the rails across there. You're coming in with mullion rails. There, you could blend it. It's actually gone on really well. And do you know what? As I'm looking at it now, it's been done 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The actual flowing out has got a characteristic of oil gloss. I'm not seeing brush marks, which people would go, oh, water-based gloss, it dries too quickly. It's actually leaving brush marks. This isn't. This isn't doing that. I know I've got a nice Arroworthy brush. It's quite a newish one. I have used it. It is bedded in. I like to keep my brushes clean. And look at me, look. I don't need tape around my brush. What's all that about? Please tell me. What do people tape that for? This has gone on really nice. What I will just say to you, and I'll see what it's like tomorrow, where I've got areas that the previous paint on the door wasn't really covering too well, grinniness, I'm finding the opacity on this hasn't blanked it out as well as I thought it would do to say this is a paint, saying this is a paint that's going to cover with 2 coats. You know, it's a sound surface, but what's the opacity going to be like? I will see tomorrow. I'm just checking to see whether I see any creep runs. At the minute, I'm not really seeing anything. What's that there? Just let me have a look. I'm just dobbing something out there. I think it might have been a previous bit of a curtain run from the door before. No, we look all right down there. Right, let's have a good night's sleep. Let's see what it's like tomorrow. Let's give it well over 12 hours. Yeah, it'll have over 12 hours and we'll see what it's like. But so far, so good. I quite like that. Is this going to be my new go-to gloss? And I hate the word go-to. Is this my new, or will it be my new gloss for when we need a water-based gloss that's got a decent gloss level? The decent gloss level we will see after a few days, surely, because some dull down slightly. And gloss being 100% oil-based, tapering off to, I'd expect to see something around about the 80 to 90. If it's better than that, fantastic. And also, I don't want to see it yellowing. If this is a hybrid paint, there's an element of oil to it that we can notice that it goes a little bit yellow. If I've got any, I'll have a look whether I've got some Bedeck MSP gloss or something equivalent down here, just to compare it, because that doesn't go yellow. I might not have. We'll see. But see you tomorrow. I'm coming back to you. Actually, it's not quite dry. It says 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours recoat time, and beyond 6 hours is probably best. Now, I came back this morning and coated up. Now, from it being painted yesterday, which was what, well over 15 hours, it was still very tacky to the touch, to the point that if you're a painter and decorator that thinks to yourself a gloss paint's still a bit tacky and you put another coat on, you'd probably find it crosling. And crosling's the build-up of paints that aren't properly dry and they sit on each other, and the surface underneath hasn't dried enough for the top surface to really like reactivate it, and you'll get it crosling. You also get crosling if you overload paint and the drying time goes a bit cold, you get crosling that way. But this, I'm not going to put my hand on it. I think you can see with the ring light we've got what a cracking gloss that is. I cannot put into words how good that paint is for a water-based gloss. Now, when I first came back this morning to see what one coat was like, it literally looked like I'd painted it with an oil-based paint. And looking at it now, there's a proper gloss level to it. When we say about 0 being flat as a pancake on 100 being really glossy, you're up there with, I'm going to say 90. It's a 90+% gloss. Now, what I noticed yesterday when I was applying it, where I've probably mentioned on videos before, where you've got your, let's call it the cross members, you've got your stars, you've got your mouldings, where you've got a little bit of a fatty edge of your paint. I'm looking at the screen of the camera so I know where my finger's pointing. Where you've got your cross members going up against where panel moulding is there, and you've got a little bit of paint across it. It goes a little bit tacky. That's why you knock off with the heel of the brush so you don't get any build-up of paint across these areas. When I was coming to these rails, mullion rails, stiles, cross rails, latch rails and things like that, where that paint was, I could actually put the paint of that rail across there, blend it out, and I could see it was blending into each other. There was no sign of flashing or the paint not wanting to go over what was already painted. And when it had dried, when I came back later that evening to have a look at it, it looked like exactly what it says on the tin. It flows out. There's a proper flow with the paint. Even to the point I'm seeing very little brush marks other than really what I can see from previous paints that have been on Doris. I'm going to start looking really critical at it. Opacity, I'm really looking critically. Opacity on some of that panel there, which I recall it was a panel that was previously blue and we didn't have much build-up of paint on it. I can just see a little bit of grinning on that panel that had really been a dark colour. On areas that were properly built up with white, I'm going to say that'd pass. You're really looking for finding it to look a bit grinny. I'm looking on the mouldings, I'm looking at the edges of the panels. I'm not seeing anything. It all looks, I'm going to say perfect. Nothing's really perfect, but it's perfect. What I would say to you is, I used a really nice brush. This very soft bristled Arroworthy Classic Slash Cut. Did all the mouldings, got it on nicely. Just be mindful you don't overload and put too much paint on to the surface, because I can see where I didn't do very well brushing out just at the top. I'm just looking up there. I've got a little bit of a run, just a bit of a creep. And if you catch on a bristle going back onto itself and create a build-up of paint, you may see a little run somewhere. I'm trying to look for one now. No, there might be a little bit of a corner of these panels that I saw, but if you were quick and caught it and just dobbed it out, don't try and brush it out, just literally dob it out with the tip of the bristles, just to, in effect, like stipple it. You lost it. So I would say, if you are applying it, just be mindful you don't overload it thinking, oh, I can bang this on, because it will still have that creeping, moving element if you put too much paint on and overloaded it. But just back of my fingers there, back of my hand there, it is going off quite nicely. I've got to say, this has changed for the better. Brush has washed out perfectly, no issues there. It says brilliant white. I have to say that is a really good white. It's a popping white. It's a proper white, what we'd expect. I would probably like to try this in the future using microfiber roller. I'd probably apply it and see how that works. I've said times many that there's a lot of people that probably struggle with using a brush and probably find it a lot easier to roll. I would like to try it out to see what it's like rolling. You won't have that issue of creeping and runs if you actually used a roller. So I'd like to say thank you very much for sending me a tin of paint out to try PPG Jonos, but nobody has. I purchased this. This was bought through Paintwell of Nottingham, Paintwell down at the Colic / Netherfield, Teal Park Industrial Estate, you know, next to the Aldi. Screwfix, everybody else is there as well, Tool Station. Now, this is a paint that I would say to you, if you are looking for a water-based paint that is quick drying, I know really next day is probably better to coat up. This is your water-based paint. There was no smell. I didn't walk into here thinking, oh, what a pungent smell I've got from an oil-based paint, because it is a decent water-based paint. So as a durable gloss finish, it says the surface protection technology. I'm not going to doubt that. There's a lot of R&D goes into stuff like this, and to get a gloss finish like that, somebody has actually thought about it. We do get really nice gloss finishes with some of the water-based paints, but I'm going to say to you, not on the level this is, that is nearly like looking at an oil-based paint. And on that note, please watch the videos at the end.